And it's the conversation we're having. We're having, look, a first day assessment of the exercise that took place. We're told that technically, yeah, the actions as to how the registration processes would go were okay. Yeah. So I'll give that to the Electoral Commission. It's just that on the side, it's the maintenance of the protocols that we picked up on the ground that were not good. Because this was even capped by us just making sure we got that letter from the Ghana Medical Association. Once that interception was done by Joy News, it also meant that it brought to a head what the concerns of the medical authority was, the related issues about how we need to make sure we keep this tight. So let's go on to the streams. We're going to talk to our correspondents. At the same time, speak to some great analysts on the show. But let's get to the Electoral Commission as well. Would want to speak to Mr. Michael Boedu. He is Director for Training, Ghana's Electoral Commission. And he will give us some great insight because now all the directors are busy. The commissioners are all busy, and the commissioner himself is also busy as well, because from top to bottom, we need to make sure what is being done, whether it's the right thing, and hopefully whether we can get better on the second day. Let's get onto the streams and speak on Zoom to Rafiq Salam. And Rafiq Salam is going to give us the overview as to what we should expect on the second day. But the first day, what is his own assessment? He's on stream. Good morning to you, Rafiq. What would you say, by way of description, the first day has been like?
I will say to a very large extent, the one of the exercise was largely successful because most of the centers that I visited in the one municipality and the Sisal East municipality, it was orderly. And then also there were some prospective personal protective equipment like the use of the thermometer gun and also the hand sanitizers. But the only worry has to do with the social distancing aspect because you saw in the videos that we sent earlier how the people were crowded in most of the places. And so going forward, we expect that things like that should change for the better.
To all. Rafiq, I know what your own enumerations are, but because of the way the non-adherence were to the social distancing protocols and the rest of the COVID-19 protocols, it also means that perhaps we need to do a further assessment of it. How would you say could be the concerns or the reasons why perhaps we have the flouting of these regulations?
You know, I believe that these are things that all habits, they say, die hard. And so in the one municipality or the Upper West region is same. You know, we talk about the use of this face masks and also this issue of social distancing, which in this region, I will tell you that to a very large extent, is not being adhered to. You can count out of 10 people, only one person who will be wearing face mask. You still have people being crowded. You go to a place like the One Market, it's business as usual. And so I believe that these are habits that we have carried into the registration centers, and then people are not adhering to that. Just this morning, I got to some of the registration centers, and it's the same. You can count as many as 40, 50 people. Only about 10 or so people will be wearing the face mask. And also the social distancing, there is not been adhered to. And it was even worse when it threatened to rain, and then everybody was running helter-skelter. And so even the people were crammed, they were packed like sardines.
That's quite funny, though. But it's also because it's not a funny sight if you tend to look at the reactions from the Ghana Medical Association. Now, Ivy Setoje is joining us from the Volta region. And Ivy, where are the constituencies that you have your eyes on? Where did you go even the whole of Monday?
Okay, so I was at Ketu South, I was at Ketu North, I was also at Keta Anroga, as well as Agotume Geoffrey and Akachi North and South.
Okay. I know that prior to yesterday, the main concern was the brouhaha the NDC had with the deployment, etc. First, would you say that may have dampened how the first day was expected to have looked like in those areas, Ketu South, Ketu North, and many of those related constituencies?
Well, it's I not really, because what we saw yesterday, it was a bad sight anyway, especially at Akusa Park, where people were fighting as to who should register first or not. It was really a bad sight where officials tried to separate the fights. So with these things and these people not observing the social distancing, and the officials, because they were busy with the machines, are not able to. Some of the officials in some of the state police centers were not able to, educate these people that it was necessary for them to observe the social distancing and even wash their hands and wear the nose masks. It was really sad seeing these people struggling, fighting to register, ignoring all these protocols. So yesterday, in most of the places, but for Georgia, Ketu North, for example, at least they try to observe the social distancing. Uh, yes. So yesterday, I think they should do something about the situation.
So, Rafik, I know that you're watching in there, Mr. Michael Buedu. He's director of training for the Electoral Commission. But Rafik, if people would have to obey the protocols, and based on your observation, would you say that the onus lied on the security personnel and officials of the Electoral Commission then, based on your observation?
Yeah, my observation is that the security personnel should be very strict, and also the people do the exercise also do same, because the rule says that if you are not on face masks, or if you are not observing these protocols, you should not be attending to it. So before you even get to the registration center, those people need to be driven away. Everyone, this council nuisance here in the municipality. But Ronald, let me tell you one interesting thing that's happening in the region. You know, the mop-up exercise of the national identification exercise is also going on. And so here, there's even confusion as to which one that the people should go for, whether to go for NIA card or go for the voter registration exercise. And so now, what people are now, the information people are now putting out, the political parties are now putting up on, even on the radio, is that they should forfeit the NIA card and go for the registration exercise, which is much better. And so people are confused. They get to the centers, they don't know what they are up
to. Would you say that's the same observation, Ivy?
Yes, but in the places I visited yesterday, people were not ready whether or not to go for the NI card. But this one, I think the police should do a better job, because most of the places we visited, yes, on the screen, that's the Global Evangelical Church in Aflao. Most of the places we visited yesterday, we didn't see any police officer, trying to maintain order. It was only the officials there. We even saw someone who was there without the face mask, and they were trying to send him away. So I think the police and the EC officials should make sure that peace and order is maintained in these police centers, and the health officials should also make sure that the protocols are observed, because at times we are not in normal time, and it's really, really difficult. Yesterday, I was not really impressed of what happened. So I think something really should be done about this situation as soon as possible.
Well, that's and it's good that all of us are in this together, because we have to complement what the Electoral Commission is doing. This is the exercise that will enable us get the database for election 2020, and that's why having Mr. Michael Buedu, Director of Training for Electoral Services, comes in handy. Mr. Buedu, it looks like you have good accolades for the technical aspect of the job you did yesterday, and it is just the difficulty with maintaining the protocols. Initially, what did you set out to do when the SI started on Monday?
Yeah, thank you very much, Roland. We, with regards to the protocol, the plan is that applicants are supposed to maintain the 1 meter social distance requirements. But what's happened on the field is quite different. We have made provision for all the PPEs, for officials and even the applicants that will come around to have their hands sanitized and wash their hands before they join the queue. And the queue, they are supposed to maintain that 1 meter distance. What I realized is that we have 2-tier queue. Those who are, closer to the registration tables, they normally do behave or observe these protocols. But those behind, maybe a bit far away from the table and are waiting to have their turn, you really cannot control that queue. That is where the challenge mostly is. And I admit, yes, when it comes to the social distance aspect of the whole process, it has not been the best. And we really have to do something about it.
And on the technical side, how would you assess it? Based on, because you are heading training, you've trained people, and you see that they may have undertaken some work.
Yes. The technical sides, you agree with me, we have not had any problem at all. A few problems do, but generally it's been very impressive. The machines, the devices have not given us much problem. We have spares, and so even where we have problems, we are able to replace them. And so on the technical aspect, I must say, we have done creditably well. Our officials that have been trained are also living up to expectation as of now when it comes to actually handling the actual process of registration. And so largely, we have done not bad at all at the technical aspect. But the other aspect of it is where we need to look at it seriously.
In all, how many of these clusters did you deploy yesterday, and the numbers of personnel?
We deployed 3,500 clusters set yesterday. And each of these clusters have 6 personnel. So if you multiply by that, you know the number we have sent out for today, for this first phase. The second phase, the numbers will increase.
Because I know from the initial period, we're told that you had trained about just a little over 42,000, right?
Yeah, there are about 44,000 thereabout.
Okay.
Yes.
And again, you said yesterday you deployed how many clusters and how many people? 3,500?
3,500. So multiply that by 6, and then I don't have my calculator here now, but that is the range.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Rafiq, complementing the words of the Director for Training for EC would mean that the technical side, it went well. What did you see in the first place? Or is Ivy still there? Ivy? Okay, we don't have Ivy, but we do have Anas Sabit. Anas, has Anas Sabit joined? Can you hear me? Anas?
I can hear you. Hello?
Great. Anas, the areas you went on Monday, what was the notable good signs you saw in terms of the technical side? Let's say the times that would-be registrants came in, and by the time, by what time did they finish with registration? And so let's say the allotted average time to be able to complete a whole registration process, and the other technical aspects that you thought were good.
Yesterday I visited about 5 constituencies out of the 11 constituencies in the Bono East region, the Techiman North and South constituencies, also the Kintampo North and South constituencies, and then I also visited the Nkranza North constituency. In fact, almost all the areas I visited, the EC officials go to the grounds within the time, I mean, between 7 and then 7:30. The place I went where I realized they got in late was around 7:38, thereabouts. And the process started quite early, as expected, with all the items expected from the EC to be brought to the grounds being in place, ranging from the Veronica buckets and then all the hand washing kits plus soap, water, and then tissue papers were all provided by the EC officials. Also, one positive thing I noticed is that all the registration centers I have visited, I see health officials from the Ghana Health Service on the grounds taking temperatures of registrants. And so that, for me, is one positive thing. I also realized that all the people I met on the grounds here in the Bono East region from the areas I have visited were on nose mask. I didn't see a single registrant in the queue without a nose mask. So that for me is one positive thing. From the start, I realized social distancing was, neglected in some areas in the Techiman South constituency. But moving to the Techiman North constituency, I realized the EC officials, they did something very positive. They did some markings on the ground with some white paint, leaving distances between one registrant and then the other. So I didn't see people getting together as I saw in the Techiman South constituency. And the same happened in some parts of the Kintampo South and then Kintampo North constituency. Getting into the later part of the day, they managed to observe the social distancing protocols. But there were some few areas where the protocols, in fact, with regards to the social distancing, they still had issues. So generally, for me, from what I saw on the grounds, all the items the EC were supposed to do, all that the EC was supposed to provide were on point. There was no single area where there is a problem with the machines of the Electoral Commission or the EC not starting with the registration on time. But the key problem in some areas here in the Bono East region had to do with social distancing protocols, especially in areas that are densely populated. And that, for the Electoral Commission, is something difficult to manage.
Rafiq, on the technical side, how was the rate, the time that people would have to go through and averagely get registered? Rafiq?
Moving at a slow, at a snail's pace, and then also they were not really happy about how it was going because between 7 a.m. and up to about 12 midday, they were able to register about 55, 60, which is also not quite good enough. And so what the prospective registrants would like from the EC or the registration officials is that they should at least move a little bit faster than what we experienced yesterday.
Mr. Boadu, if you take the training that has been given by way of the technical aspect to your registrant, would you say by way of assessment in the first day, they went through these regimes adequately? Mr. Boadu, unmute your mic.
Okay, I'm okay now.
Yeah. Please start in response to my question, sir.
Okay. You wanted to know if the training that we gave them...
Yes, you gave them
really
training. Based on your first day assessment, would you say that, invariably, averagely, they adhered to your guidelines or your regime?
Yes. They did. Largely, they did. And that even explains why we really haven't had much challenges with the process itself, but the other aspects of it, the peripheral, that we haven't challenging with, particularly with the protocol. But the main exercise itself, we really haven't had challenges. Yeah, some were complaining about late start of exercise. And you admit it's the first day and they probably had some teething challenges with transportation and logistics, but which has been sorted out now. So we are supposed to see a better attendance from today and then the subsequent days. It will be better than we saw yesterday. But concerning the actual deliverables, I mean, how well they are performing, I must say that they have taken what we told them seriously, and they are doing just that.
Across board, there seems to be the concern about not maintaining the protocols for social distancing and the others for COVID-19. Why that mass failure?
It really doesn't mark failure because on our part, we have put in place arrangement to ensure this. One of your correspondents did say that some of the places he went, we had marked the floor and ensure that people stay within the marks so they wouldn't be that close. That's what we have told our officials to do everywhere. Pages them paint to do the marking. And so on our parts, we have been able to put in place arrangements that will ensure social distance. But so like the saying goes, you can force a horse to the riverside, but cannot force them to drink. So if you come to register and we say, stand here, and you ignore, and you want to come close and be crowded, it becomes a challenge. Now it borders on your person as a human being and as an adult. So that is why for now we are appealing to them that they should just be more disciplined and responsible enough and obey what we have told them. And if they fail to do that, then probably with the help of the security, we'll have to compel them to do that because this is a health issue. And we have to help ourselves in this process so that we will not be infected. And so it will not mark a failure on our part as DC, but maybe as a people, we have failed to be more responsible and disciplined in that respect. So yes, for the people, it will be a failure. Or us as an institution, I think we have done our best.
There is a concern that even though on your part, based on what you should have told them, you have, etc., the collaboration should have been deeper with the security forces, with the other stakeholders around.
Okay, you are right. We have, just before we even started this exercise, we had DIPAC meetings in all the districts with the political parties, and some of these things were discussed. With the security, yes, before the exercise, I had a series of meetings with them. But this is registration. It relates to elections. And sometimes if you use force too much, it might be misinterpreted. So the police are also cautious. And yes, just for now, we want to appeal to people to encourage them, to educate them to do the right thing. But if it is getting out of hand, I think you agree with me to be proper, that we compel people to do the right thing. And so, yeah, the collaboration has been there, but we also want to, the security is also, be also careful, want to make sure that we don't rock the boat and give the people the opportunities to register to vote, because it's about registration to vote. But if the people are making it difficult, I think then we will have to now compel them to maintain this social distance.
Anas, is Anas on? Anas has gone.
Yeah, Roland, I'm here.
How worried were you that voters or would-be registrants were not adhering to the protocols, and to what extent or how acute was it?
Personally, I was worried at the point. I felt the EC could have done better in some of the areas I have visited by at least barricading the area where the registrants needs to line up before they get into the queue. But in some of the areas I visited, there was nothing like that. People come, and then even though the EC provided some tents and then chairs for people to sit, people come, and then everyone wants to get under the tent And as a result of that, they completely ignored the issue of ensuring that they do not get clustered at a particular point before they get themselves registered. And in those areas, even though there were the provision of the Veronica buckets and then the soap, everything, some might even get into where the people are, touch items they are not supposed to touch before they realize that there are Veronica buckets placed at some point. So going forward, I wish what I saw in Techiman North, where the Veronica bucket is placed at the edge of the queue, and everyone who gets in there is instructed to wash their hands. The Ghana Health Service official, who is the one doing the check-in of the temperatures, is also right by the Veronica buckets. He takes the temperature of the individual before the individual has been allowed to join the queue. That I saw in the Techiman North constituency. In the Techiman South, I didn't see much of that. So going forward, that is something I wish they will be able to tackle. Apart from this social distancing issue, the people here have understood very well. In fact, they've been made to be aware that without the nose masks, you will not be allowed to register. So everyone coming in is on his or her nose mask, and that is being properly adhered to. One worrying development, Roland, I want to chip in quickly, had to do with the unavailability of sheets in some areas. I mean, roof. We are in a rainy season. This morning, it's been raining since morning. And as a result of that, most of the registration centers will not be able to start until after the rain stops. And in some of the areas we visited in Kintampo South yesterday, whilst registrants were in the queue about registering, the weather changed all of a sudden, and then it started raining, and as a result, we have to disperse. And at the spot, social distancing protocols was completely ignored, and the process had to be restarted again when the rain went off, because they were under a tree. And so when it's raining, it's a problem, because the EC officials themselves didn't know how to move out their items to a place. One individual had to provide them space in his house to keep the items. So going forward, if those things will be able to be checked, else the process will be delayed. The 6 days that the EC have earmarked for each electoral area might not be able to be enough, because if the rains will be coming in and taking away some of the working hours, then it will be a big problem for the people in this area.
Rafiq, your response to the same question. How worried were you when you saw them? And also your reaction to what has been picked by announced on the first day?
The first issue talking about the non-use of the thermometer gun, because what transpired was that the early hours of the registration process, they were not using the thermometer guns at the handful of places that I have visited. And so when we made inquiries from the Electoral Commission, we were told that they were provided with the thermometer guns as at 1 a.m. Yesterday. And so the regional director did tell us that that one is not their responsibility, but they have gotten some nurses to be in charge of that particular area. But after 2-3 change. So that was really a worry to me. And then also, I must also commend the people of Tumu, especially those at the Tumu Central Mosque, because when I went there, almost, I can say close about almost 99% of the people who were there were having nose masks, and which was also very good. One thing that we need to do more or need to better.
Well, we've also been joined again by Ivy Satoje. Ivy? Ivy? Ivy?
Yeah, hello, Roland. I can hear you.
Great. When you went round and you saw that the social distancing protocols, well, in your case, some of the few areas that you witnessed were not being maintained, how worried were you? How did we get the Electoral Commission officials trying to resolve the difficulties?
I was very, very worried, extremely worried, because in the south, especially in Ketu South had the first case in the Volta region. And so I was very, very worried. So the third place I visited, I approached the EC officials to educate the people on the need for them to observe the protocols, especially social distancing. Especially when I saw people sitting on the bench very close to each other. I think as residents, we should change our attitudes and know that we are not in normal times and do the right thing instead of waiting for people, authorities to tell us what to do, because COVID is real, and not observing these protocols, we are putting ourselves at risk. So it's about attitudinal change. Residents should be able to change their behavior in terms of these issues so that we are all safe. So I was really, really worried, especially in Ketu stuff. In Keta and Angoga, most people were wearing their face masks except the social distancing, of course. So, well, we just hope for the best as time goes on. We see what happens.
Mr. Michael Boydu, at the end of the day, we don't want to get the mindset that the Electoral Commission seems to be pushing the rest of the responsibilities on citizenry. And so, and that will mean that you have to refrain from using the words, oh, we have done our part. You're going to shy away from that? Is that a way you want to go now?
Well, this challenge really calls for collective approach. Yeah, the EC, yes, we are coordinating this whole activity, so we cannot take ourselves out of it. But we need the support of the security and the electorates or the applicants. All of us need to help in this direction. So maybe we need to take very, very tough decisions and to help everybody do the right thing. Yeah, so we will not isolate ourselves. It's a Electoral Commission activity. We are spearheading it. So, of course, we cannot seem to be pushing blame onto others, even though we have done what we think is the best for us to do. But we still have to coordinate with all the necessary agencies to help us get over this issue. And it must be done immediately. So I'm sure between now and within a few days, we'll be having some serious discussions with the security because they can best help us do these things. And then we will come out with another approach. And I think we will see a better turnout.
Yesterday, there were a lot of information going on social media, and I even had some of my colleagues also posting that you can print one of the forms. Is it the A1 or so? And then when you fill, okay, so yes. take us through how expedient or perhaps swift can we do this process in the first place?
Yes, if you go to our website, you can print out the Form 1A, the registration Form 1A, and the guarantors form if you want to vote via a guarantor. And you complete it. If you want to do it, fine. You complete it and submit it to the center. When you get there, the registration officer will go through and see whether you've done the right thing, and then will ask you to. I said just click on print. You will fill it. You fill it there. You fill yourself. When you print out, you fill the form, fill it out, and then you go to the center. If you get there and the officer is able to establish that yes, you've done the right thing, go through and satisfies it, then you thumb print in the presence of the officer. The officer also signs it, and you are good to go. If there's a problem with it, then you may have to fill a new form there. The officer will have to do that for you at the center.
And I see the form. That's what you call the so it has the applicant's personal data, and then the other related applicant's parents, hometown, etc. Why do you need my parents' hometown?
We need your parents' hometown because you are supposed to be a Ghanaian. So if you're a Ghanaian, you should have a hometown. Every Ghanaian here has a hometown. So where is your hometown? Possibly give us your hometown address so we will know exactly where you come from. If you want to do a follow-up later on, we can do that. It is all meant to help us establish that you are indeed a Ghanaian. So if I should run you through what you are supposed to provide, just include your name, your date of birth, your house number where you actually reside, the place of residence, the district where you reside, and then your parental information, mother's name, father's name, and then your hometown and your hometown address. These are the information you are requiring from me.
If an applicant, as a would-be registrant, prints it
yes.
in black and white, is it acceptable?
Yes, black and white.
Well, we'll try as much as possible display this form on the screens for you so that you get to know how it looks like, because we're all educating ourselves. Now, we have to wrap up, but before we do, let's look at the last round ahead. So this is what they call the voter registration Form 1A, okay? And it has a section for the applicant's personal data. Also has a second section for the applicant's parents and hometown address and other related information that is needed. And the section C is for physical or visually impaired persons who are the applicants or want to register. So makes a lot of sense. You can go to the website of the Electoral Commission based on what Mr. Michael Boadu, the boss for training for Electoral Commission, is saying. So in order to expedite this, the whole process, you print this from the website of the Electoral Commission. You can even keep one on a drive, give it to other people. You can print black and white, not necessarily colored. You fill it with appropriate information. Then you take it to the registration center. It makes it easy for you to go through the process as quickly. Now, my last round of questions, and it's very easy. Rafiq? Okay, Anas. How many people did you count or see in the areas that you went who were using the guarantorship?
Quite a number of them. A lot of people I have seen doing that, especially in the rural areas, the remote areas. Most of them were opting for the guarantor forms, but they were able to control the situation because the few ones who had, there was an understanding, the few ones who had their Ghana cards were the first to be attended to. And so they already have people waiting to use them as guarantors. So that made the whole process a bit peaceful in some of the areas I have visited. But yes, there are a host of people I've seen who were being, who filled the guarantor forms. Like the doc said earlier, there's a bit of misunderstanding between the people and then the EC officials with regards to the protocols. I want to add this quickly. I have seen little, or in some areas, just one police officer manning about 3 different registration points. So there should be that collaboration between the security and then the EC officials in enforcing the issue of the nose mask and then the social distancing. We know it is mandatory to be on nose mask. So if people are flouting that directive, something needs to be done in terms of the security aspect to ensure that others would also adhere to. Else, if you leave them, people would want to do what they want.
Rafiq, on your part, how many people were using the guarantorship system? Ivy. I think, I said Rafiq. Ivy. Do we have Ivy?
Hello, Roland.
Yeah. How many?
Yes, I'm here.
How many of the applicants use the guarantorship system?
Quite a few of them use that, and then some of them already had people who were there to as their guarantors. So quite a few of them, we saw quite a few of them, and it was not that difficult. It was quite smooth at that time.
Well, last question for you, Ivy. We know that you have to go onto the field sometime within the morning. But let me just wrap up with you, Mr. Michael Boadu. This guarantorship system that you're using, How easy have you made it on the ground based on your first day's assessment?
Okay, quite a few people did register through guarantors. If I should give you a few statistics that we have received so far, for OT region, for instance, out of the 5,865 people that registered, 653 did that through guarantors. In fact, 5,198 registered using the Ghana card, and just about 14 used passport. And so bearers of Ghana card appear to be more than even the guarantors. Maybe the paradigm might change in the course of the period, but for now, those with Ghana card appears to be registering a lot more. And it should be understood because they have to do that first so that they can be in the better position to guarantee for those who don't have the other required identification cards.
In a situation where somebody's guaranteeship has brought somebody to the center to guarantee for him, and we know they are representatives of the political parties and other community stakeholders around, and they disagree with it, what intervention can you do?
You cannot disagree on that basis because the guarantor, once he or she has satisfied the condition, and the only condition here is that you should be a registered voter, or you should be a registered voter under this present dispensation. So if he's gone ahead to register, and when he as a guarantor, as a voter, registered without any challenge, and if it comes to guarantee for somebody, you cannot challenge the guarantor. No, you can only challenge the applicants, and it must be on other reasons, not that he's gone in for an unqualified guarantor. Because the guarantor, once he has the voter's ID card issued yesterday, then he is qualified to guarantee for whoever he chooses to. And so you cannot really question that. The law doesn't allow for. What you can do is to challenge an applicant because of other reasons. Maybe you think he's not a Ghanaian, or he's not of age, he doesn't reside in the area, and things like that. Yet you can go ahead and challenge the applicant. But for the guarantor, no, you cannot do that because he has passed the test, which is to say he has registered as a voter and has a card already. Yeah.
They are the border towns, and I'm asking this because it's a very sensitive area. There are border towns in which people prefer to go to school on the other side, but they may reside or have residence either intermittently on the other side. They want to come and register, and maybe they are within the jurisdiction. I have seen videos of people trying to test them with English and some local language, etc. Is that one of the means that you have certified to disallow people from registering?
So let me take you through the challenge process. If you have reason to believe that an applicant is not qualified to be in the register, you just fill a challenge form. And then there will be a committee that will be formed. And this committee will now investigate and make a decision as to whether the applicant qualifies or not. And so we cannot, at the spur of the moment, during the registration, just look at the person's face, and say, no, you cannot register. All that you need to do is, fine, you want to register, I'm challenging you. Let's go through the process and let the district registration review committee sit on the case. And then they will now investigate and ask for evidence and witness. So they will be in a better position to take a decision as to whether we shall allow you to be on the electoral list or not. And so it's not proper for someone to use a donation of an applicant just to say, I'm not registering you. In fact, you cannot just say by a word of mouth, I'm not registering you. You have to go through the registration process and put it on paper, and everybody signs it, and the committee will be the one to make that determination whether the person is qualified or not.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michael.
And if I may go further, the committee is made up of representatives from the political parties that are active in every district. It also includes the district police commander or his representatives or her representative. It also includes the traditional authority would need to get a representative, and then the head of the educational, the DES, the district director of education, or a rep will also be on that committee. And our district electoral officer is a member secretary on that committee. So these people will form the review registration committee, and they will sit on all the challenge cases that we will record during this registration. And their decision would have to be complied with by the commission.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michael Buedu is Director for Training, the Electoral Commission. And thank you for your dedication to us each time we call on you and the rest of the team that you have at the Electoral Commission head office. But we also have Rafiq Salam joining us, Anas Sabit also joining us, and then also Ivy Setoji helping us. And they are going back onto the field to monitor the situation. So we'll come back again at 10 and then 12 to give you more updates before the subsequent bulletins and program we have on the channel. We're taking a break. When we come back, we're having that sports conversation. The Ghana Premier League has been called off because of COVID-19 and related issues. But we also do know that on the continent, CAF also has made some decisions regarding the African Cup of Nations and the other tournaments on the African football calendar. Our sports team, and then also some of our sports enthusiasts and guests we have in the studio will help us with the discussion. Also, don't forget, Equiapin Polo is trending, and it is because she decided to post a picture nude of her and her son, and it's apparently sent tongues wagging. We already do have Child Rights International, and Bright Apia will be right here in the studio. We'll have our Aidam, who is an online safety expert and works with a think tank that works in that field, and even the ministry, they are all agitated. We'll look at all these next.